The 2JZ-GTE started life as Toyota's answer to a simple question. How do you make a luxury sedan compete with German V8s without using a V8? Toyota's solution was an inline-six so overbuilt that it accidentally created the internet's most dangerous engine. This motor survived 1,200 horsepower torture tests on completely stock internals, powered a Supra to 236 mph at Bonneville, and became so legendary that people started swapping it into everything from drift missiles to their grandmother's Corolla. But why did Toyota build this engine like a nuclear bunker? How did tuners discover its insane potential before Toyota even knew? And what made this particular inline-six achieve God-tier status while dozens of other turbo engines faded into obscurity? These are 20 jaw-dropping facts about the 2JZ-GTE that will blow your mind. Number 20. The Cast Iron Fortress. Toyota didn't just build the 2JZ's block from cast iron. They built it like they were preparing for war. The cylinder walls measured a massive 10 mm thick, nearly double what most manufacturers considered adequate. The deck surface was so overbuilt that tuners routinely mill off 2 mm for higher compression without any structural concerns. Most impressive? The block's closed deck design meant coolant passages were fully surrounded by iron, creating a structure so rigid that builders trusted to 1,500 horsepower. Compare that to aluminum blocks that crack at 600 horsepower, and you understand why this iron giant became legendary. Toyota's engineers claimed they designed it for adequate strength, but their definition of adequate could apparently withstand nuclear warfare. Number 19. The 6-bolt main event. While other manufacturers were content with 4-bolt main caps, Toyota went absolutely mental with the 2JZ's bottom end. 6 bolts per main cap, not 4, not 5, 6. But wait, it gets better. They also added a factory main girdle that tied all the caps together into one massive structure. This wasn't some aftermarket race part. It came standard on every 2JZ-GTE. The result? A bottom end so strong that professional builders often reuse factory main bolts on a 1,000 horsepower builds. One famous engine builder claimed he'd never seen a 2JZ break a main cap, even after examining dozens of grenaded motors. The few failures he did see, always somewhere else, never the mains. Number 18. The forged crank that refused to break. Toyota specified a fully counterweighted forged steel crankshaft for the 2JZ-GTE. But here's where it gets interesting. They over-engineered it so badly that it became virtually indestructible. The crank's journal overlap was massive, the counterweights were heavier than necessary, and the forging quality exceeded anything needed for the factory 320 horsepower. Tuners discovered you could spin this crank to 9,000 RPM with proper valve springs. 9,000! The stock rev limiter was 6,800. One builder tested a factory crank to destruction on a dyno. It finally let go at 1,047 horsepower. Not because the crank broke, but because the harmonic balancer bolt stripped out. The crank itself, still perfect. Toyota accidentally built a crank strong enough for top fuel drag racing and put it in a luxury sedan. Number 17. The connecting rod conspiracy. Here's where the 2JZ legend gets murky. Toyota's factory rods were good for about 700, 800 horsepower, which sounds limiting until you realize that's more than double the stock output. But the conspiracy? Many builders swear the early Japan-built rods were stronger than later versions. They point to different forging marks, slightly different weights, and mysterious batch numbers. Testing proved inconclusive. Both types failed around the same power level. The real secret was how they failed. Unlike other engines that throw rods through blocks, 2JZ rods typically bent slowly, giving warning signs before catastrophic failure. Builders learned to check rod straightness during rebuilds, catching problems before explosions. This predictable failure mode saved countless blocks and cemented the engine's reputation for being unkillable. Number 16. The piston technology nobody talks about. Toyota's factory pistons were basic cast units, good for maybe 500 horsepower, before Ringland started complaining. Nothing special, right? Wrong. The magic was in the ring pack. Toyota used a steel top ring with a unique coating that handled boost pressure like a champion. Builders discovered these factory rings could survive 30 psi of boost if the pistons held together. The second compression ring used a reverse twist design that actually improved seal under boost. Most impressive was the oil control ring, a three-piece design that maintained perfect oil control even at double the factory boost. Aftermarket companies spent years trying to improve on Toyota's ring package. Most gave up and just copied it exactly. Number 15. The Sequential Twin-Turbo Symphony. Toyota's Sequential Twin-Turbo system was a Rube Goldberg machine of vacuum lines, solenoids, and actuators. One small turbo spooled quickly for low-end response, then a second larger turbo joined the party at 4,000 RPM. In theory, brilliant. In practice, a nightmare. The system used over 40 vacuum lines, 12 solenoids, and multiple actuators. One failed component and the whole system went haywire. But when it worked properly, and this is the part nobody mentions, it was magical. The transition between turbos was seamless, creating a naturally aspirated feel with forced induction power. Journalists praised the linear delivery. Tuners hated the complexity. By 2000, everyone was ripping out the sequential system for big singles. Toyota's most complex engineering achievement became landfill fodder. The irony? Modern twin-scroll turbos achieve the same effect with one moving part instead of 50. Number 14. The Great Turbine Debate. The 2JZ community spent years arguing about ceramic versus steel turbine wheels. Toyota used ceramic wheels in Japanese market engines, claiming better spool and lighter weight. American engines got steel wheels because lawyers feared ceramic shrapnel lawsuits. The debate raged for decades. Ceramic supporters posted dyno sheets showing 300 RPM faster spool. Steel advocates countered with photos of exploded ceramic wheels embedded in engine bays. The truth? Both were right. Ceramic wheels did spool faster and made identical power. They also exploded spectacularly when oversped. The community eventually reached a consensus. Keep ceramics for stock boost, upgrade to steel for anything over 400 horsepower. Today, finding intact ceramic turbos is like finding unicorns. They've all either exploded or been preserved by collectors who treat them like museum pieces. Number 13. The V160 6-speed legend. The Getrag V160 6-speed manual became the 2JZ's perfect dance partner, but few know its development story. Toyota commissioned Getrag to build a transmission that could handle significant torque increases over stock. Getrag interpreted this as build it for 1,000 horsepower and created a monster. The V160 used triple cone synchronizers on first and second gear, double cone on third and fourth, and massive single cones on fifth and sixth. The input shaft was rifle drilled for strength and weight reduction. The case was ribbed like a fighter jet's wing. But the real party trick? The V160 could handle clutch kicks at 800 horsepower all day long. Drift kids discovered this and promptly made V160 transmissions worth more than entire cars. Today, a good V160 sells for $8,000. That's more than most people paid for their entire Supra in 2005. Number 12. The Stock Bottom End Chronicles. Stock Bottom End became the 2JZ community's favorite flex. Forums filled with build threads titled 600 WHP Stock Bottom End, 700 WHP Stock Bottom End, and eventually the Holy Grail, 800 WHP Stock Bottom End. The rule of thumb emerged. 800 horsepower was the safe limit for stock internals with proper tuning. Push beyond that, and rod bolts started stretching, ringlands cracked, and bearings complained. But some madmen pushed further. The record? A verified 1,021 horsepower on completely stock internals, pistons, rods, crank, everything. It lasted exactly one dyno pull before ventilating the block, but it counted. The builder framed the destroyed piston and hung it in his shop with a plaque, Stock Bottom End Champion 2009. The community treated him like a war hero. Number 11. The boost-up revolution. In the early 2000s, the 2JZ tuning scene discovered something remarkable. These engines responded to boost like nothing else. Where most turbocharged engines gained maybe 10 horsepower per PSI of boost, the 2JZ gained 15 to 20. The math was simple and intoxicating. Stock boost of 11 PSI made 320 horsepower. Bump it to 18 PSI with basic mods, 450 horsepower. 25 PSI with supporting mods, 600 horsepower. The gains were so linear and predictable that tuners created boost-to-horsepower calculators. The engine's efficiency at high boost levels defied logic. Most engines lose volumetric efficiency as boost increases. The 2JZ just kept making power. Engineers studied this phenomenon and credited the head design, port shape, and valve angles. The community didn't care about the science. They just kept turning up the boost. Number 10. The standalone ECU gold rush. When AEM released the first plug-and-play standalone ECU for the 2JZ in 2001, it changed everything. No more piggyback fuel controllers, no more MAF sensor tricks, no more praying the factory ECU wouldn't throw a fit. The AEM unit plugged directly into the factory harness and gave tuners complete control. Within 6 months, power levels jumped industry-wide. Shops that struggled to make 500 horsepower reliably were suddenly building 700 horsepower daily drivers. The standalone revolution exposed the 2JZ's true potential. Tuners discovered the factory knock sensors were incredibly accurate. The cam and crank sensors were bulletproof, and the coil-on-plug ignition could fire under massive cylinder pressures. Other manufacturers rushed to release their own systems. By 2003, you could choose from 10 different standalone options. The 2JZ became the development platform for every new ECU. If it could handle a 2JZ, it could handle anything. Number 9. The single-turbo conversion epidemic. By 2005, the single-turbo conversion became the 2JZ's rite of passage. The formula was simple. Remove 40 pounds of sequential turbo plumbing, install one big turbo, make 200 more horsepower. Conversion kits flooded the market. Some were beautiful works of art with cast manifolds and perfect fitment. Others were garage-built specials using Home Depot plumbing fittings. They all made power. The Precision 6E766 became the golden child. 700 horsepower on pump gas, decent spool, and it fit without cutting the car. Then came the G35R, the GT42R, and eventually turbos so large they required hood exits for the exhaust. The community pushed boundaries until they discovered the limit. Around 80 8-meter was the biggest turbo that could spool on a 3.0-liter engine. Anything larger became a dyno queen that couldn't get out of its own way on the street. Number 8. The VVTi torque monster. In 1997, Toyota quietly updated the 2JZ with VVTi variable valve timing. The community initially scoffed. Variable timing was for economy cars, not race engines. Then someone dynoed both versions back to back. The VVTi engine made 40 more lb-ft of torque below 4,000 RPM. Same boost, same mods, just mountains more mid-range. The difference was so dramatic that people accused the dyno of being rigged. It wasn't. The continuously variable intake cam timing filled in the 2JZ's only weakness: lazy mid-range response. Tuners learned to manipulate the VVTi system for even bigger gains. By adjusting cam timing maps, they could build boost 500 RPM sooner or gain 30 horsepower up top. The best part? The VVTi system was bulletproof. Toyota overbuilt it just like everything else. Today, VVTi engines command a premium. Everyone wants that extra torque. Number 7. The Aristo Donor Gold Rush. When 2JZ seekers discovered the Toyota Aristo, Lexus GS300 in America, came with the same twin-turbo engine, prices went insane. But here's the beautiful part. Aristos were luxury sedans bought by conservative businessmen who babied them. While Supras were getting thrashed by 20-somethings, Aristos lived in climate-controlled garages. Importers started bringing in low-mileage Japanese Aristos just to part them out. A complete Aristo 2JZ-GTE with transmission, ECU, and harness sold for $3,000 in 2005. By 2010, that jumped to $6,000. Today, try $15,000 for a good one. The donor car situation got so ridiculous that people bought entire running Aristos for less than the cost of the engine alone. They'd drive the car home, pull the drivetrain, and scrap the shell. Thousands of perfectly good luxury sedans died to feed the 2JZ swap epidemic. Number 6. The Fast and Furious effect. When Paul Walker's orange Supra appeared in 2001's The Fast and the Furious, the 2JZ's fate was sealed. That 10-second car speech, the laptop tuning scene, the danger to manifold moment, it all became gospel. Overnight, every kid with a Honda Civic wanted a 2JZ swap. The movie's technical advisor later admitted they made up half the terminology, but it didn't matter. The damage was done. Supra prices doubled within 6 months. 2JZ engines became impossible to find. Shops that specialized in 2JZ builds had year-long waiting lists. The community jokes about the Fast and Furious tax, the automatic 50% price increase on anything 2JZ related after the movie. But here's the thing nobody admits. The movie wasn't wrong. The 2JZ really was that good. If anything, they undersold it. A 10-second car? That's considered slow by today's 2JZ standards. Number 5. The Dyno Video Arms Race. YouTube's arrival in 2005 created the 2JZ Dyno Video Arms Race. Every shop needed bigger numbers, wilder pulls, more dramatic flames. The formula became predictable. Gratuitous engine bay shots, dramatic music building, the pull starts, boost gauge climbing, then bang! 4-digit horsepower and 2-foot flames. Comment sections became war zones. Only 1,000 horsepower? My boy made 1,200 last week. That's not pump gas. Dyno reads high. The one-upmanship pushed development at warp speed. Shops developed new technologies just to win internet arguments. Billet blocks, billet heads, custom cranks. Anything for bigger numbers. The record currently stands at 3,400 horsepower from a 2JZ-based engine. Yes, it's mostly custom parts. No, it can't drive around the block. But the YouTube thumbnail says 2JZ power, and that's all that matters to the algorithm. Number 4. The Swap Everything movement. By 2010, the 2JZ Swap the World movement reached peak insanity. BMW E36, 2JZ swap. Mazda RX-7, 2JZ swap. Your mom's minivan? Definitely 2JZ swap. The engine's compact dimensions and bulletproof reliability made it the universal answer to every automotive question. Swap kits appeared for every chassis imaginable. Companies laser-cut mounting plates for cars that made no sense. A 2JZ in a Miata? Sure, why not? Ferrari 308? Someone did it. The community's motto became LS swap is for quitters, 2JZ swap is for winners. The swaps got increasingly ridiculous until someone put a 2JZ in a Prius and actually made it work. The hybrid system provided instant torque while the turbo spooled. It ran 10s in the quarter mile while getting 40 mpg on the highway. Even the haters had to respect that level of insanity. Number 3. The drift missile phenomenon. When drifting exploded in America, the 2JZ found its second calling. The engine's broad power band, progressive boost, and indestructible bottom end made it perfect for sideways shenanigans. But here's what made it special. The 2JZ's power delivery was predictable. Drivers could modulate throttle mid-drift and know exactly what would happen. No sudden boost spikes, no falling off boost between gears, just smooth, controllable power. Formula Drift's top teams took notice. By 2015, half the field ran 2JZs. The engine dominated so thoroughly that rules makers considered restrictions. The 2JZ drift tax became real. NES chassis with a 2JZ swap doubled in value overnight. Builders created drift-spec 2JZs with wider power bands, anti-lag systems, and reinforced everything. The ultimate expression? Frederick Asbo's 1,000 horsepower 2JZ that could drift at full throttle for entire runs without missing a beat. Number 2. The known weak links. Every 2JZ builder learned the weak links through expensive experimentation. Oil pump gears stripped at 8,000 RPM. Solution: billet gears. Head gaskets leaked at 30 psi. Solution: MLS gasket and ARP studs. Valve springs floated at 7,500 RPM. Solution: dual springs and titanium retainers. The community documented every failure mode obsessively. Forums created sticky threads listing exactly what broke at what power level. This collective knowledge made building reliable 2JZs almost foolproof. Follow the recipe, use the right parts, make the power. The tribal knowledge became so complete that builders could predict failures before they happen. You're running 35 psi on stock head bolts? Give it 2 months. They were usually right. This predictability made the 2JZ the safest engine to modify. You knew exactly what would break and when. No surprises, no mysteries, just engineering limits that everyone understood. And before our final revelation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more automotive deep dives and comment below if you knew any of these 2JZ secrets. Number 1. The modern turbo V6 blueprint. The 2JZ's influence extends far beyond swap culture and dyno queens. It literally wrote the blueprint for every modern turbocharged performance engine. When Nissan developed the VR30D for the new Zeed, they studied 2JZ architecture obsessively. Closed deck block? Check. Forged internals? Check. Overbuilt bottom end? Absolutely. BMW's B58 inline-6 follows the same formula. Closed deck construction, forged crank, over-engineered cooling. Even Ford admitted studying 2JZ design when developing the second-generation 3.5L EcoBoost. The lessons were universal. Build the bottom end for double the intended power, use forged everything, make the block structure bomb-proof, and enthusiasts will do the rest. But here's the ultimate irony. Toyota themselves seem to forget these lessons. The new Supra's B58 engine is BMW sourced. When asked why Toyota didn't develop a new inline-6, executives cited cost and emissions regulations. The real reason? They knew they could never top the 2JZ. Why compete with your own legend? The 2JZ didn't just become the internet's most dangerous engine through YouTube videos and forum posts. It earned that title by being so overbuilt that 25 years later, we're still discovering its limits. Every modern performance engine owes something to Toyota's accidental masterpiece. They tried to build a reliable luxury car engine and instead created an unkillable monster that defined an entire generation of car culture. The 2JZ isn't just an engine anymore. It's a religion, a meme, a measuring stick, and a reminder that sometimes the best engineering happens when accountants aren't watching. Toyota built it like a nuclear bunker because they wanted it to last forever. They succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. The 2JZ will outlive us all, probably making 4-digit horsepower in some kid's garage build long after we're gone. That's not just engineering, that's immortality.